Hi there, Francis Potter here. I've got three theories as to how you could, if you wanted to, store ECCN codes or other project level metadata in GitLab. GitLab doesn't have any custom fields at the project level and doesn't have a whole lot of features around managing project level metadata, but there are some features, and some of them might work for certain kinds of functions like ECCN codes. So what I've got here is a sample project. The nature of this project is not important. I'm going to show three different ways of adding custom metadata to this project. All right. Now, the first way is perhaps the most crude, and that is to add it to the project name. So in this case, I've got 5D992.c, which is the ECN code for GitLab, actually. And I just added that to the beginning of the project name and saved it. Now that's pretty ugly because it means that that is now in the project name. Yep, there it is, 5D992.c, but I can actually search for that, right? So that gives me the ability to kind of search and group by those project codes. It's unlikely that something like an ECCN code is going to overlap with anything else that exists in the name of a project. So it would probably work, even though it's potentially a little bit crude, and it's going to kind of float around with the project name everywhere. Note that doesn't impact your project URL. I would recommend adding that in after your URL is already set, or making sure that your project URLs are set appropriately for that project. So that's one approach. I'm going to actually clear that out. I don't want to keep any of this in here. So now the second way to do this, which I think is actually kind of cool, is to use topics. Now, topics are kind of like tags for projects. There is not a lot of support for topics in GitLab. It's one of those features that I think has been there for a long time and has kind of been forgotten, but it's still there and it still works. But I could put my code in there as a topic. You can put in other topics if you want, but I put that in there as a topic and I save the changes there. And there it is. It's in there as a topic. And now that actually shows up when I go back to the project. It shows up here underneath the project name with a little tag icon. Actually, I think that might be the same icon we use for Git tags, but don't be confused. It has nothing to do with Git tags. It's a project topic. What's cool about this is if I click on that right there, that actually takes me to a list of projects that's filtering by topic. And what I notice is there's no way here to filter by topic. I don't think there's any built-in way in the UI to filter by topic, but you can actually have topics in the URL and it will actually filter by those. So you could fairly easily look for projects according to their ECCN codes and find them that way. I am pretty sure that that information is in the API, and I'm pretty sure it's not available as filtering in any of the analysis reports that are offered by GitLab. So in order to do any analysis on any of that, you would have to develop your own reports in some external system and use that as a filter. But it's a pretty solid piece of metadata that doesn't go away. Okay, so that's the second version, is topics. The third version is compliance frameworks. Now, compliance frameworks, oh, I've already added it in, but let me show you where you would do that. You actually do that at the root level group. And under settings, general, and compliance frameworks. Now, compliance frameworks are a whole other ball of wax, because compliance frameworks are designed to, there I've already added it in, but you can add it in yourself by clicking add framework and editing it, give it a name and a description and a color. Compliance frameworks are designed to drive group-wide or instance-wide compliance pipelines. So you're supposed to use it for things like SOX, and you say, okay, every project that has to be SOX compliant has to run this pipeline or this set of jobs. And so it's designed to allow you to control what automation and pipelines run at different levels in your organization, depending on different compliance standards. But you could create a compliance framework for every possible ECN code that your company might need, which if you're a big company might be a lot. And then they become available in this drop-down list here for compliance framework. Note you can only choose one compliance framework. So if you're using compliance frameworks for its intended purpose, then using it for the ECCN code will not work because you have to pick one. With topics, you can actually have more than one. But once I've got the compliance framework there, it's going to show up in the project right there. It's almost similar to that labels thing, topics thing, but it's kind of to the right of the project name. I don't know about filtering or searching based on compliance framework. This is a pretty new feature and there's a whole lot of work going into it right now. I do know that you have these compliance pipelines. So if you start to have certain pipelines that should be run on certain ECCN codes, then it starts to become really interesting based on that. So unfortunately, there is no built-in functionality for ECCN codes. We can certainly add an issue for that, but there are 3 different ways of adding some amount of project level metadata to projects in GitLab. And just to refresh, the first way is to insert it in the project name. The second way is to add it as a topic. The third way is to add it as a compliance framework. And I hope this is helpful. Thank you very much.